believe most of us can testify that our previous speakers have done a great job in making us understand the whole design thinking process. And so I'll just give a little recap of what we've done so far. So basically the design thinking process is in 3 phases. The understand phase, the create phase, and then the deliver phase. Okay, so under this area, that's where we find the problem, research, analyze, arrive at our POV. So this is phase 1. And then we arrive at our POV, and then we create ideas. Okay, we create ideas, and then finally we arrive at our solution. We deliver our solution. Go to our prototype. Okay, so this is just a recap of the design thinking process and where we are now. So we've gone through the research, the analysis, arrived at our POV, created ideas, iterated, gone through prototype, arrived at our solution. Now, when we arrive at our solution, we believe that the basic idea and what you can do to really finalize the whole design thinking process is being able to tell a story. So being able to tell a story. And that is more like applying everything that you've gone through the design thinking process. So today we are going to talk to you about storytelling, how after going through the whole research analysis, arriving at your POV, arriving at a solution, how you're able to present your solution, how you're able to present these ideas, how you're able to sell them, how you're able to tell a story of everything so far. Okay. So I'm going to talk about why it's important to tell a story, because we've realized and we believe that as you're going through the whole design thinking process and you can't be able to tell a story, and in this case you're telling a story in terms of getting customers, in terms of getting investors, in terms of telling your journey so far. If you can't do that at the end of the design thinking process, then we believe that you've done virtually nothing. So that's what we are going to throw more light on today for today's session. Okay. So Ankrah will talk to you more about the importance of storytelling and why and the criteria we have. It's not a criteria, but it's like a model for telling a story, something that will guide you in telling a story.
Okay, so like she said, we've gone through the motions, we've gone through everything that has to do with design thinking, and basically it starts with a problem and you being able to go through the motions of arriving at a solution, and then when you arrive at the solution, it's up to you to articulate it for people to hear. So that is when the storytelling comes in play. Now, last week we had a very great presentation from Carol, and Carol talked about prototyping. She said that prototyping is actually very important. She feels like the most important part of the entire design thinking process. Indeed, I feel that everything is important, but then what is the essence of you being able to go through everything successfully, and when you get into a room where people are going to listen to you and invest in whatever idea that you've actually come up with, and you can't do it, and you cannot articulate it, then it means that everything that you actually did was cost 90. Meaning that the work that you put into it actually didn't amount to anything. So we feel that if you actually master the art of telling the story of the process that you went through to arrive at your solution, then you have a very high chance of maximizing the benefits that you would get in being able to acquire investors, build up a customer base, build customer traction for your business or your business model solution. Now, why are these stories very important? The first reason why stories for your solution concept are important is because they produce experiences. And with this regard, if you actually share the story of your process, it shows the customers or your prospective investor the things that you went through to be able to get to your solution case. And in going through those phases, you actually go through a process where you take them through a series of events. How you went to the people you are going to research on, the challenges you faced, and how you got to your POV, the frameworks you use, the persona, the journey map, among other things, how you get to your solution case, how you got to be able to sync the product with the problem, and how it fits in a very perfect niche, and how it works best for them. So then when you take them through that experience, they're able to get a formal connection with you, through which you are able to actually build on that and get to better heights. Now, the second reason is because stories to make sure that after you leave the room, the people are talking about you. Because the only reason or the only case where people actually follow up and people will actually give you a call or send you an email or even send you a text is when they actually have a resonating message of what you said. So then when you leave the room and then your message goes with you, then you've actually done nothing. Everybody forgets about you. So then in telling the story, it actually creates a situation where when you are out of sight, you are still in mind. Because there is this philosophy that when you are out of sight, you are out of mind. And that is what actually people who do not have stories have. So then, so far as you are not in sight, then the case you have is not in mind, meaning that you have nothing. So when you are not there, they just move on to something else, and whatever you came to say was basically trash. So then, in creating a unique message, you are able to sort of stamp on their minds and on their hearts, even when you are not around, of the solution that you brought about. And then they will come after you, and they will get to know, they would like to get to know more and actually work with you better. Now, the last, but definitely not the least, is that stories are the emotional glue that connects you to your customers. So then, this actually, when I read this, was deep for me, because then an emotional glue is like an emotional attachment to the people who you are selling to. So then, initially, I felt that when you are an entrepreneur, I mean, all you are in business to do is to make money, right? Because then you need to make money. However, if you are in that space and you are in that paradigm of thinking, then it means that as soon as the patch between you and your customers broaden, as soon as your relationship with them gets to a broader space, or if you scale up and you are in another place and you don't get in constant communication with them, it means that that relationship will die, and that means that basically they'll move on to another person or another product. But when you actually tell a story, even though you are so far away, they get glued to you, they get attached with you, because it creates a brand that actually gets in sync with your audience, and then you are able to leverage on that glue and build up to actually get more customers. So with this done, let me just give a scenario. Now let me take a problem case. Terrorism. I'll take terrorism because then recently I've been called Aladdin and all because of my beard, and I look like it. Yeah. So let me take terrorism for an example. So then you identify terrorism as a very cancerous problem, and it is actually something that is putting Ghanaians in a pandemonium. Right now we don't know whether another terrorist will strike even in Ashesi. People do not know. I'm just saying, because then it could happen anywhere. But in Jesus' name it won't happen. So then, and as a design thinker, you've identified the problem. You know that if America is supposed to, America or any other nation, France or any other nation at all, is supposed to get to know or to get a wind about a solution for terrorism, it will come chasing after you. So then you've gone through the motions. You've gone through a research process. You've gone to the place. You've gone through ethnographic research to empathize with the people who are in the situation. You've put yourself in the stake of going to Bokolade, of even talking to perhaps Abubakar Shekau, the leader for Boko Haram, among other things, and you get to know deep insights about terrorism. Then you get into your analysis. You analyze it, you come up with frameworks, you come up with all forms of theories and conceptions based on the various frameworks that has already been discussed in the previous sessions to get a POV. a point of view that attaches the user of your terrorism, of the terrorist, as well as a probable cause for them and a need for them that will actually help them to be able to solve the case, basically. Then you start ideating, come up with all forms of the crazy things that comes into your mind. You've gotten to your solution case. You've gone through the motion, right? Now, they call you to a conference, okay? Big people who are billionaires, trillionaires, they've heard about your concept. They've heard about this mind-boggling idea that will stop terrorism, that will bring all these barbaric acts to an end. And then you are on that huge platform and you're supposed to tell the story of the solution so that they will just sign the check. Boom, your concept is in commercial quantities. Then you can't do it. Meaning that you're going to Nigeria, you being an expert, a professor, coming up with theories about this is useless. So then, the essence of telling the story is to make certain and make practical the entire thing that you've gone through, the entire design thinking process. You're making it realistic as possible to your prospective customers and investors so that they will be able to buy into your idea and get you, the platform that you want. So then in this, we would like to help people in, telling the story about the entire thing. So maybe Gladys could start for us.
So one thing that I've realized that we don't really consider, or we don't really regard, or we don't really acknowledge the fact that in storytelling, like in our normal daily lives, if you're telling a story, design thinking concepts are imbibed in it, but we just don't acknowledge it, we just don't admit it, and we just don't accept it. So for instance, there's a wide range of imagination, of creativity in storytelling. Let's say in the normal storytelling, I'm going to give a story or an example. So I remember when I was like 2 years old, and the lights goes off, and then I'm with my dad, and he's telling me a story. He said, "Daddy, tell me a story." He's telling me a story. So I grew up and became 18. I didn't know my father was formulating that story. As at the time I was listening to it, I thought it was something that I had read, and he was telling me about it. He was talking about how he started talking about a hunter in the forest. So in all that, he didn't have a destination. He was just saying the story, and it's so strange how he was very creative about it. And as I was lying on my bed, I was very like my mind was wild. I was in the forest with the hunter and all that. So I believe that design thinking concepts are really imbibed in generally storytelling. So then imagine the design thinking concepts that are imbibed in telling a story from design thinking process, or from the whole process that you've gone through. So now we believe that okay, then now the question is, why do we have to create a model for telling a story, or why do we have to tell a story? So we talk about the how, why.
Yeah. So in illustrating how to tell a good story, I'll be using an example that we actually learned from our leadership class, and it was developed by a guy called Simon Sinek. And in this story that we actually learned from Simon Sinek, we realized that in order for you to deliver a very captivating story, then you need to begin with why. Then you move on to what. Then you move on to how. Then you move on to what. So you begin with why, you move to how, then you end with what. From what he said, and I think it really makes sense in actually telling a story that actually is compelling and captivating to get people to be able to, get in touch with whatever solution or whatever product that you are selling, and make the design thinking process practical in the shortest possible time and in the best possible way. So most people actually start with what they do and move on to how they do it, but they never get to the why that they do what they do. And I think this is very true because I would go back to the last presentation we made in FD, and Dr. Adomja actually asked a question to one of the groups after their presentation, that you people are seeming to hustle through this. So then, why would you continue doing this thing that you are doing? And they didn't have an answer for that. They didn't have an answer for why they were doing what they were doing. All they knew was the what and the how. So then, if in selling whatever idea, and because that's what they actually know, in their everyday life of selling, they only sell these two things because they themselves don't know why they are doing what they are doing. And the reason why he said, and we agree, that going and starting with why to how to what, and not what, how, why, is because of the fact that in biology, in human anatomy, when it comes to the anatomy of the brain, the part of the brain which is called the limbic region of the brain that's the brain that's actually deals with decision making, gut feeling, that deals with, okay, so the numbers don't add up, but I strongly feel I am going to go by this angle, although this doesn't make sense, although in analyzing this I do not agree, I will still vie for this. It's what actually appeals to why. So then, when you actually begin by why, you're actually telling people that although perhaps my financial cash flows or my balance sheet will not make sense, you should still buy for me anyway. Although I might not have a perfect plan or an operations model, although perhaps the plan that I've laid for the next 10 years doesn't make sense or it is not good enough, you should still come on board anyway. So then, most people start from what, and usually they end here. For example, let's use Yaro, for example, just to see. So Yaro Foundation, or the Yaro project, is a center. That's what. It's a center that caters for autistic children, and they cater for autistic children by providing state-of-the-art facilities that caters for therapeutic and educational improvement in their mental state of mind so that they can integrate back into society. But why does Yaro exist? It actually ends there. So then, as soon as we get here, we sustain ourselves by fundraising, blah, 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 and it ends there. So, okay, I understand the rationale behind what you're doing, I understand the house, and it makes sense. But then, why do we actually get up every single morning to fight the Yaro battle? It's not clear. So then, if you take another angle in actually selling Yaro, by beginning with why, with regards to Yaro. So, autistic children are human beings, just like any other person. And they are stigmatized and marginalized. But we believe that they can actually get better and add to their society's development when given the proper platform and given the necessary need. We do this by providing state-of-the-art facilities and treatment so that they will be able to receive positive mental development and integrate back in society. The Yaro Foundation is a center that caters for autistic children. In that angle, you've actually appealed to a person's decision making of actually being part of the Yaro Foundation because you began with why. So then, if you begin with why, although your process might not make sense, the fact that you actually appeal, this might not be a strong why, but the entire thing is about you being able to know the techniques of getting people interested in the design thinking process and in how you got to your solution concept and in why they should become a customer and even become an investor. So then, in order for a person to become an investor, the person needs to believe in your strategy. The person needs to become a customer first, in fact, because then if I am not a customer, why would I invest in the process? I will invest only because I believe in your solution. And how you can get people to sign the checks, even though your financial balance is not adequate, and even though your operations plan is not good enough, is because you appeal to their limbic region, which makes gut decisions of saying that although it doesn't make sense, my gut says I should actually go with them. Okay.
Just something to chip in. You realize that people don't really buy what we do, but people buy why we do it. People don't buy the need that we have for them, but then they buy what drives us, like what motivates us and what pushes us to do what we are doing. That's just to chip in.
Okay. So, So, let us do just, so let me keep this. Let me erase this. We're going to do just a small activity based on this. Okay, so based on this framework, we would like to develop a story. Around a product or a service that you can come up with. So if anyone has any, maybe your organization or something that you would like to actually apply the why to, so that we can do it here. So who has?
Anyone?
Odell. Okay. So Odell, please, why do you do what you do?
We believe that. Why do we do it?
Yeah.
We believe that Ghanaians can help us share in the reason why we are trying to solve this problem, bringing luxury to everyone, little by little.
Solve the problem
Of luxury in Ghanaian here.
Lack of luxury.
the lack of luxury.
Okay, so the why of Ashesi Carolina. So we believe that the why of Ashesi University is that Ashesi University or Patrick Iwa believes that he believes, or Ashesi University collectively, the Ashesi community believes that the crisis in Africa is actually a leadership crisis. And so therefore they believe that this is the time and there is a need for a generation of entrepreneurial and ethical leadership. So that's the point.
Yeah, and how they do this is that they have an honor code system, a judicial council agency, 4 leadership courses in your whole entire system. 4. And then, and after that, full credit. And after that, full credit. That is for the leadership course. The final one is full credit. Yeah, and then they populate the Ashesi community with people from different parts of Africa. Yeah, and so then this is how they solve their problem. Yeah.
And what is Ashesi?
And for the what, Ashesi University is a tertiary educational institution which believes that, or is a tertiary educational institution which provides a culturally diverse campus so that people from different countries are able to relate with each other in hopes of becoming the leaders of Africa.
So we would like to do just a very brief group activity. So we'll give around very short, please. So then we have just the 3 groups will just come up. There is a pure non-profit. So then we want all the groups to develop one of the groups to develop a pure non-profit service or product that they will apply this concept to in telling the story. Then one that will be purely for profit. So a purely profit service or product that you can apply the storytelling to. And also the last one will be a social enterprise that basically has both dynamics of a pure profit and non-profit combined together. So then we'll give 3. So the first one is pure profit. So then if you are doing a business or if you are thinking of going into a business that is basically skewed towards making money, but yet you still want to get investors and customers on board, then we would like you to develop a story that can get people on board. Then when you are also planning or you are currently running a purely non-profit venture, we would give one to another group to come up with that. Then a social enterprise that basically combines both dynamics. So then we would give. Yeah. So please take one. Okay, so profits and profits, and the back social enterprise. So profits and profits, social enterprise. Yes. So please come up with.
So basically, yours
you don't know what they will do in the future. So we're trying to. So that's the one. So then we come to the how. So how we do it is by creating a startup or a business that gets all these rich children another way that without us will not be in schools, enrolled in schools of some sort. What is?
Something might not be social. It's like something maybe something social. I don't know. When it's like 2 minutes time, I think it the company giving more to each cell is actually for all
the storytelling is the main, like,
so it should be what we believe.
Why?
every child, maybe every child is
What
Yes, I just chicken before. Please don't use all peppers.
I don't know what to say. That's like why? Asking like why? Because I don't know.
Why is that people, specifically entrepreneurs and startups, create solutions that aren't actually solutions. That is, whatever they come up with doesn't fit with the problem. They don't take time to analyze the problem and then find a solution that fits to all other problems that come from a general problem. And this is because their solutions are in categories. So there's a lack of creativity, which is the basis of why we do what we do. So our how is that the D-Tech consultancy has been set up to help potential entrepreneurs to succeed by basing our curriculum on the design thinking process. So where consultancy, CEOs and startups can come to us, and then we take them from identifying a large problem space all the way up to providing a solution. Our what is that we are a design consultancy that offers advice on creativity and ways on adapting the design thinking process into business practices.
Thank you, D-Tech Consultancy. Let us move with the to non-profit.
The human mind has a tendency to be attached to a story. So I'm going to tell a story of John. So John was born in the streets. His father was a street kid and his mother was a street girl. Right from the time he was 4 years old, he fended for himself. When he woke up in the morning, the first thing that came to mind is what he was going to eat next and where he would sleep when night falls. Whether it's rain or it was sunny, it wasn't his problem. So we believe that every child deserves a fair chance, including those in the streets. And we as street smart, we come up together and look for spaces in the streets of Accra, and we partner with tertiary institutions, get tertiary students, and they teach these kids the basic education, because we believe that education is the only way out of the streets. That is street smart for you.
So to put it in literal terms, the why of street smart is every child deserves a fair chance, including those in the streets. The how of street smart is we just get spaces in the streets, and then we get tertiary and SHS students to facilitate the teaching and learning of these people. And the what is obviously providing these kids with free education.
Thank you. So, thank you, Street Smart, for your story. So,
people think about street children or children in need, the first thing they think about is the food or the clothes they wear. Not many people consider their feet and how they are protected. How most of them, even though they have food to eat, they have clothes to wear, they almost always have sore feet. They're almost always trekking long distances to school, and it's so difficult for them because by the time they get there, they are tired and their feet are sore. Having shoes is a basic need to all human beings, even if it's not given that much recognition in our world today. And that is why Toms exists. Now, it's a social enterprise. So then for the profits that the company makes, it's going to be plowed back and given back to the society. How is this done? Very simply, for each shoe that a customer buys, the customer has indirectly bought a shoe for a needy child, a pair of shoes for a needy child. So then, Toms is a company that produces shoes for everybody to enjoy. But in doing that, the shoes are also produced for children who need the shoes but cannot afford them or cannot get access to them. Thank you.
all of you into a paradigm of ambiguity. Yes, which is actually the essence of design thinking. Yeah, I mean, so in that regard, you coming up with the names and you coming up with this was, I mean, a very good step in the right direction. So we are very, very impressed at the response to which you came up with all those stories. It clearly shows that you understood what went on. So then, just to wrap up to end this so that we can all go and eat. I mean, what last semester, most of the FDE ventures did not actually cross to the final 15 because, not necessarily because it wasn't a good venture, simply in fact there were some which were way better than the ones which are currently operating now, but perhaps it's because the people who were at the business fair weren't able to just articulate that story that would have actually earned them the spot in the 15 slot operating at this moment. That's why one person was complaining in class the last time that he felt that his company was very good, but yet they weren't selected. It's true, you could have a brilliant solution, but yet if you don't have a compelling story, nobody will buy it. So that is what we want to leave and the essence of storytelling.